Hello everyone, welcome back to another Daredevil Born Again episode talk, and this is the fabled filler episode, episode 5. And hopefully in this video I will also be doing episode 6, but I won't know that yet until, I get done with episode 6, because today is going to be a very busy day for me to get all this done. I am recording way earlier than I normally would. So let's get into it, and apparently it is St. Patrick's Day, which means that this episode takes place in March. I mean, the season starts off after we get past the 1 year skip at the December of 2026, and then we move into the new year. How are we in March? This series, man, it takes a long how did we time skip all the way to March? But whatever, it is St. Patrick's Day, and Matt goes to the bank in order to ask for a loan where he meets Miss Marvel's father, and they talk a little bit. Apparently Kamala's visiting some friends in California, which could be a reference to Young Avengers. See, Marvel, in order to do references you don't really need 500 different rewrites. You could just do a simple scene like this. Everybody's happy. However, the loan gets rejected, so Matt, sadly enough, isn't happy. So Matt leaves the bank and he calls Kirsten, I think, but he basically says that the loan didn't happen. But also, while he is calling her, the Irish are gonna rob the bank, and I thought Punisher already took care of you back in season 2 and early parts of season 1 of the Punisher itself, but season 2 of Daredevil. But they want to rob the bank for some special item that some boss wants. That boss, later on we find out, is Luca, one of the heads of the 5 families, one of them people. But Matt hears this and he goes back into the bank whistling because he's blind. It works perfectly. However, he then gets taken as a hostage, and we basically have a bit of a tension sequence with the bank, and then eventually with the cops as well. SWAT arrives, and the leader of this ragtag group calls the cops, and they have some fun interactions with each other, as in tell me a joke and stuff like that. However, the woman, I forgot her name, but the woman wants a show of good faith. Release some hostages. So the ones that get chosen are a woman and Matt. But Matt doesn't really want to go because also the bank manager isn't here. So Kamala Khan's father, Yusuf, he is supposed to be taken, but he doesn't know the combination. So Matt kind of has to save his life. So Matt's like, I'm gonna stay. Take the husband, because the woman is like, we just got married, okay? Please just let my husband come with me. It's like, Matt's like, look, just take the husband, okay? And then he tells a bit of a backstory on himself, where he was like, yeah, look, Murdoch is apparently kind of an Irish last name, and also he was an orphan. But please take the husband, leave Murdoch in here. So eventually they agree. They let him out, and then afterwards Murdoch is like, sir, can I need to go. It's like, well, you had your chance. No. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to take a piss. Simple as that. So, one of the baddies goes with Matt. Also, Yusuf was taken down to the basement by the blue masked one. But Matt takes out his person and then goes down and takes out the blue person as well. I think the red one is actually the one that Matt took out, but the blue one he also takes out. And then he does an Irish accent, which I never expected, but I love to see. And also we get the line that he is a really good lawyer, and it's like, Spider-Man reference, because that was in Spider-Man No Way Home. So Matt opens up the vault because he is Daredevil after all. But they need to find out what the baddies were after, because they can't go back upstairs empty-handed, otherwise people are gonna die. But there's only one key, so Matt searches the blue guy, and he apparently has a second key, so now they start going through boxes. But at least there is a 4 on the key, so we know there's a 4 in there. So we try all the 4s. He keeps dropping the key. Also, we have a little bit of an after edit where Matt mentions his mother, because he's like, yeah, my father died when I was young, and I never knew my mother. And then it looks like we got another post edit where he's like, until much later in life, which is a reference to season 3, but because of the fact that in the original show there was no season 3, it's kind of like the last episode where we had Punisher say bullseye, which was also after and was not part of that scene. You can hear it. But eventually we find the box, and it was 407, and inside is a special stone. What's the purpose of the stone? Who knows? So they go upstairs. The cops are ready to bust in, and Matt basically is like, look, okay, you can stop all this stuff because the cops are about to bust in, okay? And then they want to shoot, but then Matt's like, I got your special stone. Here, catch. And the cops break in, and the leader of the group decides to blend in with the cops, and apparently a woman who earlier told Matt to sit down was working with them, and she needs to take the stone to Luca. So the leader blends in with the cops. He escapes. Matt goes after him. beats him up, breaks his leg, and also apparently he switched the jewel for some candy. And then at the end of the episode, Yusuf offers Matt some help in order to be able to make his business a bit more profitable, because Matt only really helps those in need, but that doesn't really bring in the big bucks and does not allow them to get loans. So maybe one day Matt is gonna go with Yusuf to Jersey City in order to meet Kamala Khan and also get some advice. And overall, I personally very much enjoyed this episode. I like the Irish leader. I thought he had a great personality, the way that he talked. Very much fun. I was also reminded of GTA 4 throughout all this, because in that game the Irish also rob a bank. And also the father, Yusuf, was probably one of the best things to come out of Miss Marvel, a show that I very much enjoyed until we got to later into the show, and it was like, oh god, why? This show isn't good. Not really. It's not really that good, because of the fact that, you know, it's like, it does the stupid stuff that they always do. The baddies aren't actually the baddies, but they are the baddies. I don't care. But I liked Kamala Khan a lot, and also her father. They were standouts from the show, so it's nice to see him back. The nice reference to Young Avengers as well. Will that turn into anything? Who knows? I mean, Kamala could literally just be visiting friends in California, or this is all about Young Avengers. Who knows? Who's to say? I don't necessarily care, but for a quote-unquote filler episode, I also like, by the way, Matt getting back in the action, but for a filler episode, I thought this was very good. And I watched the Dragon Ball Z anime, and also the Pokemon anime, and the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, so I know my share of filler, and this was one of the good fillers. I very much enjoyed it. So then next up we have episode 6, and it will be the episode where Daredevil will be going up against Muse, if the Disney Plus image is anything to go by. So then, episode 6. Oh, what an episode, boys! When I first said that it was gonna be Daredevil versus Muse, I did not know that this episode was gonna be so good. So let's get into it, because this episode is the Muse episode. So this episode starts off with the body that Muse took earlier and is finally found, and also we got some graffiti that needs to be cleaned up. Also, what we learn in this episode is the fact that I didn't know what Muse was doing to that guy. Turns out he was draining his blood. But we'll get into that later on. Anyway, we see Matt pray, which is brilliant, because I love the fact that Matt is still doing that. He's kind of given up religion, but not fully, and I like that. I think that is perfect for his character right now. And also, Heather is apparently writing a book on vigilantes, and is like, hey, Matt, you represented some vigilantes. And I'm like, yeah, Punisher, Spider-Man, yeah. Good times, good times, good times. And even White Tiger in this show, but good times. And then she's like, can you set me up with, like, Frank Castle? And it's like, really? That's the person you pick. You pick the Punisher. Of all the vigilantes that exist, you pick the Punisher. The one that actually kills people. Yeah, okay. Sure, we have a plethora of vigilantes to choose from. You could even pick Jessica Jones or Luke Cage. But no, you had to pick the one that actually kills. Sure, why not? And then later on, she's like, Daredevil's like, oh, if only you knew. But Matt's like, I don't know, maybe. So then the mayor gets a visit from the cleaner, and that is where we learn the official stuff. And that is Muse apparently takes the blood from his victims, puts that into his paint, and then paints with it. And apparently he's had over 60 victims. I mean, we learned that later on, but still, over 60 victims. Are you kidding me? How did the cops not know that this was happening? But this is gonna play into the whole Daredevil Born Again part. So, back at the office, Matt gets a visit from Angela, who's like, you know what? My uncle was kind of like investigating something. People go missing, that kind of stuff, you know? And it seems to be happening around, like, track 61. And then Matt's like, what do you want me to do? And it's like, well, help. And I'm like, how do you want him to help? Like, seriously, the dude is technically blind. How do you want him to help? What do you want him to do? Technically, you're supposed to go with this to the cops, but seems like the cops have become a little bit more corrupt since we last saw Daredevil. So, that might not be an option. But still, what do you want Matt to do? But then she implies that she's gonna do this herself. And it's like, oh boy. That's not gonna be good. So then Fisk has a meeting with the basically the cops in that sense, the cop bosses, I guess, and it's like, they basically want to go fully after Muse, and Fisk is like, no, because if we go after him right now, he'll go underground and come back stronger than ever. And I'm like, you speaking from experience, big boy? So we have to keep this a secret when we go after him. So then at night, there are girls who are walking away from, I don't know, the bar, I guess, and they see someone painting, and it's like, oh my god, are you Muse? And then it's like, well, you become the next victims, I guess, because Muse then starts painting with their blood as well. So while that is happening, Fisk is asking for money at a fundraiser, and they all say no. We even get a return of the swordsman, which we saw earlier in this episode during the BB report, but I ignored those kind of things. But it was nice to see him again, another connectivity thing with the MCU. Love to see it. There was no need for him to be in this episode, but they put him in this episode, which was nice. But it goes horribly wrong. Also, Fisk has become a bit bigger because his suits aren't fitting anymore. And also, Cherry visits Matt and basically tells him to stay out of the Muse case, which I don't really know if Matt was really gonna investigate, but after the bank stuff, who knows? You know, the devil is coming back because his work is never done, you know? So then Fisk gets called away because of what Muse did, which has been found. And basically, in a way, he's making a mockery of the cops. So the next day, Fisk invites the chief of the police and is like, alright, look, we need more cops on the streets. Like, well, you cut every funding that we have. And it's like, oh, don't worry about it. I've selected some special people for my own vigilante task force. It's like, oh, so you're just taking the corrupt cops. Because initially, when word came out that, you know, Daredevil was gonna fight against cops, I was a little bit hesitant. But now that we know that they are the corrupt cops, I'm all for it. Because, yeah, nobody likes those people. Not all cops are corrupt, but the corrupt cops deserve everything bad that happens to them. Simple as that. And also, they are gonna get overtime and they won't have body cams. And I'm like, oh no. No, you're not doing that, are you? Because that is gonna lead to even more corruption. At least with body cam footage, we have proof of their corruption. Not now, it is gonna be horrible. But apparently that might be more of a next season thing, if rumors are to believe. To be believed. So Angela went down into the subway and gets kidnapped by Muse. So Matt get a call from her aunt and he then decides to call the cops, but then he's like, F it. He actually says F it. Goes up to the roof, grabs his suit, puts it on, and swings around the city as Daredevil, because he's back, baby! I know people are mad that it took us so long to get Daredevil again. I don't care. I've loved what happened before. I love the build-up towards Daredevil, and this moment is so satisfying. But that is not the only one who is born again, because even though Fisk tried to hide it, he's still Kingpin through and through. So he basically goes down to Adam with an axe, opens the door, throws him the axe because Fisk is like, you deserve a fair fight to fight me. And Matt goes down into the subway, gets the track 61, and Muse looks outside and he sees Daredevil coming. Like, if you see that coming towards you, run. Simple as that. So Daredevil starts beating up Muse, and I love the creepiness that they have with Muse. And Fisk fights against Adam and beats him up a lot. And the Daredevil versus Muse fight is really good. We got a wee bit of CGI here and there, but overall, the fight is really good. It's just like a backflip here and there that just gets like, that's like CGI. But outside of that, we have like basically practical fights, and I love the fighting. But Matt gets hit as well because of the fact that he's distracted by Angela. He wants to help her, but then Muse sneaks up on him, which you might be like, oh, how is that possible? Well, distractions, obviously. But Matt eventually beats him, kind of chokes him out, but doesn't kill him, and then goes over to Angela and brings her back to life in that sense. Also takes the thing out. By the way, what was the stuff that Muse injected into her? Was that like paint, or was that something to like purify the blood or whatever? Because if that was like paint or something paint related, I think she needs to go to the hospital, because that is not a good thing. But because of the fact that Daredevil saved Angela, Muse has escaped, so he will be back either this season or the next, who's to say. We still have another 3 episodes to deal with, so we could still see him. And then to end the episode, Matt is like, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. As in Daredevil's back, because she's like, Daredevil. It's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Okay, yes. Daredevil has returned, and oh, the episode was so good. I've loved the whole episode. I'm a big fan of this episode. I cannot wait to see more, because now we are in the final section of the season. I mean, we're gonna get Bullseye's return, we're gonna get a Punisher episode, and maybe Muse will continue as well, or he will go into hiding, because, you know, maybe what Fisk talked about is actually going to happen. And also, with the way that this season is going, it does feel kind of like Loki season 1, where it's like, yeah, this is not gonna end, is it? It's basically season 1 and 2 are one big season split into 2, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Kind of wish we just got separate seasons, but whatever. But that's just the way that I see it, because I don't know if Muse is going to return for the rest of the season, and he has been confirmed to be back in season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. So who knows what's gonna happen, but I'm very excited about that. But I've loved this episode. Look, episode 4 was kind of my favorite episode, but also not really, but that was mainly because of that court case. I didn't like that court case because it's basically like anti-responsibility. Take some responsibility for yourself. Simple as that. You can cry about the fact that you lost your footsteps, but it was your own fault. Simple as that. But the Punisher stuff was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, and I love that stuff. But this episode is so far the best episode of Daredevil Born Again. I've heard people say, oh yeah, there are some good moments this season, but overall this season, from people who have seen the whole show apparently. But this season isn't really all that good. I've loved it ever since it began. I've been a big fan. Yes, it is very stitched together. We all know that, okay? This is a classic MCU thing. However, unlike normal classic MCU things, this one isn't a failure. It works. It really, really works. And I can't wait to see this episode. But like I said, also, the creepiness around Muse was really, really well done. And also, the first part of this video, the episode 5 portion, that stuff was recorded when I just got out of bed, so I didn't have the energy needed. But now I do. And I enjoyed episode 5 a lot. Yes, it is kind of filler, but it's more like just an episode of television. And that's why I liked it. But I also thought it was funny. I think that the tonal change also worked for the show itself, for the episode. Thought it was a good episode, but this one is just so good. I'm happy we got 2. Now I gotta edit this bad boy and upload it, because I gotta, this needs to go up in about an hour, and I already edited episode 5, but it was a lot of work, and I kind of also want to get back to Assassin's Creed Shadows. So, let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comment section down below. Both episodes, by the way. And with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you did, please like button, subscribe if you're new, if you're not already. Turn on notifications, and don't forget to check out the Let's Play channel. Link in the description and at the end of the video. I am doing Pokemon White 2 right now, Assassin's Creed Shadows, and Grand Theft Auto 4. That is also where the whole Grand Theft Auto thing came from in episode 5 that I was reminded of, because I'm actually playing Grand Theft Auto 4 right now over on the Let's Play channel. And I'll see you guys next week for potentially the return of Bullseye, because we got a new image of Bullseye, so maybe Bullseye's gonna be in the next episode. I mean, tonight, like next week, before the episode comes out, a couple hours before the episode comes out, Disney Plus is probably gonna spoil it, just like they did with episode 4, with the fact that Frank Castle was gonna be back, because I didn't like that, by the way. I hated that. I went on to Disney Plus to rewatch Daredevil Born Again for like the review for episodes 3 and 4, and when I was done watching episode 3 for the video, it was like midnight, and I saw an image of Frank Castle just on the Disney Plus thing, which, dude, don't do that. Don't spoil it like that, okay? Don't spoil it. I mean, at least this time it was like an image of Muse. It wasn't necessarily big spoilery, but like, really? Frank Castle? Look, I love Frank Castle, but like, that would have been a nice secret to see in the episode itself. But I was like, oh, hey, next episode is gonna be Frank Castle. Fantastic. But I can't wait for his inevitable return as the Punisher once again as well. Don't know when we're gonna get that, but it seems like Bullseye's next. So I'll see you guys for that one next week. Bye!